Thank you so much, Marshall, and hello, everyone. Today's April 16th, 2025. This is the Wednesday CalPADS Q&A, and my name is Matt Clark. I'm a Data Governance Administrator at CSIS, supporting CalPADS, and I'll be hosting the Q&A today. Driving documentation for us is Gary Gerwer.
Hello.
In terms of announcements today, I do have a handful for you guys. First, Flash 299 was released this Monday, April 14th, with guidance on the conversion of end-of-year certification validation rules to data discrepancies and certification data discrepancies. So the conversion of CVRs to DDs and CDDs. Flash 299 contains a table which shows the former CVRs and the new DDs or CDDs that they've been converted to. So for guidance on the conversion of former CVRs to DDs and CDDs, please see Flash 299. Second announcement, the CalPADS service desk will be closed this Friday, April 18th, 2025. The CalPADS system will be available this Friday. However, the CalPADS service desk will not be available for support as the CSIS offices will be closed for Good Friday. The CalPADS service desk will resume operation on Monday, April 21st. Third announcement here, CSIS live trainings for the end-of-year data collections are currently underway. Nathan Holmes delivered the end-of-year primer this week, and we have an upcoming end-of-year 3 reporting and certification training next Wednesday, which is April 23rd. End-of-year training will continue throughout April and May, and you can register for CSIS live end-of-year training through the Bridge LMS. And if you don't have a Bridge LMS account, please contact the CSIS service desk by putting in a ticket. And fourth and final announcement here, kind of a final hour announcement. The CDE's Nutrition Services Department was scheduled to hold a Sunbucks webinar today at 2 p.m. The Sunbucks webinar through the CDE's Nutrition Services Department has been canceled due to a Zoom outage. And we don't have information on a rescheduled date for the Sunbucks webinar, nor are we able to answer Sunbucks questions that are intended for nutrition services. But we are able to speak to Sunbucks as it relates to CalPADS reporting. And we should have Paula Mishima from the CDE joining at about the 3:30 mark to help us with the Sunbucks questions. That was it for my announcements. Angela is out today, but I have been informed that there aren't any high-level announcements to share from yesterday's deployment. Do we have Dominic here, Sarah from the CDE? Any announcements?
Yes, actually, the Roadshow website is up and running. I've just pasted the link in the chat, so if you would like to attend one of those roadshows, please feel free to register using the links on the website. Starting up again on the road next Monday in Santa Rosa, and I'll be just about everywhere. So looking forward to seeing you all out there. It's been a great time so far.
And to piggyback off of Dom's announcement, yes, the SPED CalPADS roadshows have been excellent. I got to attend the first one. Thank you to San Bernardino County and then also Riverside County for hosting our first roadshow. We appreciate you all. And so those have been great, especially for your SPED data coordinators, along with CalPADS data coordinators that are able to attend in combination. And then also the last series of the statewide leadership is occurring after spring break. I don't know the exact date on that one off the top of my head, but I know many LEAs have registered.
Sean, you were going in and we heard what you said, but you were going in and out quite a bit.
Yeah, maybe she's.
I'm sorry. I thought it was just me, or I thought it was just Matt. That was going out, but it's my connection.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'll put it in the chat.
I can't provide the date, though. April 29th in Sacramento County.
I got it. I'm glad Matt got that part. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the questions here. So we have a Q1 from Soraya at 301. Can you please confirm the numerator and denominator that LEAs should be using to calculate our yearly RFEP rate? Is it the number of RFEPs on the 2.16 report divided by the number of English learners for the school year's fall 1 counts, or is it last year's fall 1 counts? And it looks like Gary's taking us to the dashboard technical guides.
That's correct. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm trying to be like as still as possible.
It's coming through pretty good right now, Sean.
Okay, yes, I will not move. I'm sitting like the antenna. Sarai, I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but where you can find that is in the dashboard technical guides, because that is who publishes the coordination and for which report. I don't recall it being the 2.16 report. I thought it was one of the 3 series reports, but if you need further guidance and you're unable to find it, please put in a ticket with attention Sean Walker, and I'll gladly research that information and reply back to you.
All right, thank you, Sean. And it should be in the English Learner Progress technical guide there, Soraya. All right. Moving on to a Q1 from Rigoberto at 302. Is there an estimated timeline for when LEAs will be able to access our RFEP rate on DataQuest? The most recent data is from 2020 to 2021.
Rigoberto, I'm not sure what report you're looking at, but the recent, the most current update for DataQuest is up there. And it's not from 2021 for sure. Just because I know the program administrator and how hard he works at DataQuest. So I would recheck that information, and please note that the LTEL definition for DataQuest is very different from dashboard.
All right. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Rigoberto, for the question. Next, we have a Q1 from Stephanie at 303. If I remember correctly, we do not have to report course completion in end of year for courses completed in summer school and credit recovery, correct? If so, where do I find this in documentation to share with others? That is correct that you do not report summer school courses. There's been a lot of guidance coming out about attendance recovery. So if you're looking for guidance on attendance recovery in particular, I would look to the slide deck from the regional meetings that occurred in March. And we do have a CD box site that contains that slide deck. I'll try to find that link for you here. But with regards to summer school courses, we do not report those in the course records. She did ask where we find the documentation on that. Gary, are you tracking it down?
I'm trying to find it. Oh no, this is the wrong one.
Okay.
Special ed one. Got too many tabs here.
There's the box link that we sent out for the regionals. It's in the cheat sheet. Marshall, if you have that, that would be great.
Yeah.
I had it here on one of these tabs. I'm sorry.
Your tabs read like you're ready for every eventuality, Gary.
Well, I was trying to account for everything.
All right. So Stephanie, we will get that for you in chat. Marshall, if you can track that link down to the regionals box site from the CDE, we'll get that in chat for you.
I will. My system's trying to reboot, but I will get it.
Please don't restart the system, Marshall. All right. So next we have a Q1 from Anonymous at 303. I have a question about restraint and seclusion for end of year 3. Please see the reporting restraint and seclusion slide 2 from the March regional quarterly call. So we have another need to pull that quarterly slide deck up.
I had it here.
As I was thinking about this information, I need to clarify this. Do restraint and seclusion incidents have to be reported only amongst special education students? Alternatively, if an LEA has greater than 100 special education students and this LEA reports incidents of restraint and or seclusion amongst gen ed students, or program 504 students, but not special education students, is this LEA still eligible for questionable data quality monitoring?
I'm going to tag team this question with Dominic. Dom, sorry to toss you in the fire, but I'll start it off. So should restraint and seclusion be reported for every student? The answer is yes. The definitions for restraint and seclusion, Gary, you can find those in the FAQs. Brandy has kindly listed those definitions out under, I believe it's incidents, which is formally discipline. But yes, it should be reported for every student, not just special education students, because we know restraint and seclusion isn't just occurring for solely special education students. It's occurring for all students. And so there is a responsibility to report it out for all students. The second part of the question, Dominic, I don't even understand. So that's why I'm going to bounce that to you.
I think there's a slide in the regional updates as well that talked about the different ways that the courts dictated that special education monitor this. And so the question that Anonymous has posed is if an LEA has more than 100 SPED students and reports incidents of restraint or seclusion with Gen Ed or 504, but not SPED students, is the LEA eligible for questionable data monitoring? And actually, when you have more than 100 students and report 0 incidents of restraint and seclusion for those special education students, that would be what would trigger questionable data quality and additional monitoring. However, if your district has a policy where you don't use restraint and seclusion and you legitimately have no incidents, that's something that you can discuss with your focus monitoring and technical assistance consultant when the time comes, and they can review that with you.
All right. Thank you, Dominic, and thank you, Sean, for, I guess, tag teaming that answer. Very good guidance there. Oh. And let's move on now to the Q1 from Catherine at 307. Can you please review what we need to do for accountability for students on the DSEA report? And I hate to throw it right back at you, Dominic.
That's fine. That's fine. So I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but on the DSEA extracts, there is the informational extract and the accountability extract. Essentially, you just want to make sure that any students that are reporting you as the responsible LEA, as the district of SPED accountability, that is accurate. Additionally, you want to make sure that any students for whom you are sending responsibility to another LEA, that is also accurate, because state performance plan indicators, disproportionality, that sort of thing, always go back and get assigned back to district special education accountability. And so you just want to make sure that both you review both extracts, and that sorry, had to mute somebody. Review both extracts and make sure that everything is accurate on there, both for students where you're receiving or being assigned responsibility and for whom you are assigning responsibility to another LEA.
All right. Thank you so much, Dominic. Go ahead and mark that one as answered. Next, we have a Q1 from Lethea at 310. Hello, I've submitted a ticket, and she does provide the ticket number if there are any analysts working in the background here. And that ticket was submitted on April 9th, but she hasn't received a response. I would like to get clarification on ELOP. Does this apply to high schools, or is it K through 6 only? Thank you.
Can someone please add me to that? I don't know, it's very special. I gotta leave that space. Like my whole computer's gonna crash.
No problem. When you come back, I got you.
Thank you. Well,
Okay.
that's to say that I'll respond to your question. ELOP is for all students though, and I'll respond in detail to your ticket.
All right. Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Lethea, for the question. Next, we have a question from Jacqueline or Jacqueline. I apologize if I mispronounce it one of those times. 314 Q1. We are a TK through 8 LEA, and my predecessor always submitted course data for our LEA. And when I mentioned that middle schools didn't need to, he said I can't certify end of year 1 without it. How true is this statement? So at end of year 1, we submit our course completion data for.
Uh-oh, I think we lost him.
He must have clicked
He
OK.
said give him 5 seconds. It should come
He'll
back.
come back. Give us a second here. It's not Zoom doing it. It's Lenovo.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
you're
we
back.
got you. We got
Okay, I'm back.
It happened.
you.
It's saying that it's failing to start my video. I think this may be related to the Zoom
It's a-
outage from the Sunbucks webinar.
No, it's actually Lenovo. I can
Okay.
see what they're doing. They're trying to push a framework to us. Just don't click OK.
Okay. And I
Go
will
for
just be operating with my camera off for a moment here, as Zoom is not allowing me to turn it back on. But an
Yeah,
end of you.
that was mine too. I was like, I tried to click OK or allow, and I was like, let's just not allow.
Yeah, don't click OK. It will reboot your whole system.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Marshall.
No problem.
All right. And in answer to Jacqueline's question, in end of year, we report course section completion for all of the courses that occurred throughout the academic year. And that includes the self-contained courses, which are the elementary school setting.
But those are optional, right, Matt? The 7 through 8. If they choose not to, then they still have to certify, but with 0 counts on their reports.
Correct. Thank you, Alex. Feeling a little flustered here with my computer.
No, it's very unnerving when that happens. Believe me,
All right. Okay. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Jacqueline, for the question. Let's go ahead and move on to Madison at 316 Q1. Not sure if this is a feature in Zoom settings the host must make. I love having the option to save the transcript when attending these meetings to review the information. Is it possible to implement this option in the special education data meetings as well? It's like a question for Dominic.
I don't have that option available on my account or on the special education division account, unfortunately. So I'm kind of limited to just whatever we're available or whatever we are able to implement as far as those options. But it has been a discussion, and it's possible we'll get, I don't know, a fancier account or however you want to say it. But right now, I'm just not able to do that.
Okay, thank you, Dominic, and thank you, Madison, for the question. And next question, our last question currently in the Q&A. So if you do have a question you'd like to ask the group, now would be a great time to get it in that Q&A box. But here we have a Q1 from Chris at 317. Are you sure ELOP is for all students? The CDE page says TK through 6th, and then he provides a link to the CDE ELOP info page.
And I brought that up on the screen there.
Okay. And that top sentence does say transitional kindergarten through 6th grade. So I can see where the question is coming from.
Okay, I can't see the Q&A. I haven't been able to see the Q&A for like the past 5 minutes. And I'm afraid to click on anything else. No, at this point, I'm not sure of anything. So again, that's why I say go ahead and put that ticket. My understanding, yes, it originally was, but I don't really know at this point. That's from Lithea. Great. I'll again send in the ticket and I'll address it. From my original understanding, it was for all students because of funding purposes, because all students at some point are typically involved in some type of funding, so they should be reported. But I can get more clarification from the program office if needed.
And that program office is listed on the bottom of that page, Expanded Learning Division.
That is correct.
Yeah.
But it'd be easier for me to reach out to them than probably the LEA.
True.
All right. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, Chris, for the question. And that does bring us to the end of the questions. It is only 3:22. We do have quite a bit of time. So if you have any additional questions, please get them in the Q&A box now. And I'll do my best to bide some time to allow everyone to get their questions in. Pretty quiet today, Gary.
Yeah, it is.
I hope it's not because Zoom isn't allowing folks to enter the Q&A box.
Or maybe they're waiting for Paula at 3:30.
Oh, that is a good point.
Should we ask if anyone has Sunbucks questions? Are you waiting?
Yeah.
I also asked the ELOP question to Paula too.
That's very brave of you, Gary, to open up that box.
No.
It's okay.
All right.
Credit for it, Gary.
We may be able to buy some time until Paula gets here because we do have an additional question in the chat. So first, I guess we have a statement from Leah at 322. There is a difference between ELOP and the ELP program collection. The latter, the ELP program, is a new requirement coming up next year. The ELP combines multiple programs, including ELOP ACEs and the CCLC. Then we have a Q1 from Terry at 322. Will CalPads have a sandbox to test the file splitting?
Angela
What file
question.
splitting?
Yeah, just as a reminder, the file splitting was occurring when large LEAs were submitting records that was causing CalPads to kind of stall out, and so the records never got submitted. They kind of errored out of the process, and so as a solution, we're doing file splitting where very large files are split into smaller, more easily processed files. I'm not aware of whether there will be a sandbox environment for that process. I do believe Angela will have an answer to that question. So Terry, I'll follow up with Angela and see if she can get an answer out to you. I think we should be able to answer that question once she's back in the office.
So I do have a question, a clarifying question for Chris from the contractor XED that does program for many of the charter schools. If you're referring to specifically ELOP, then yes, it is for TK through 6. However, there are some funding allocations that therefore that's something that you do need to take up with the expanded learning program office. If you are speaking towards ELP, which is specific to CalPads and which was presented at the regionals, then yes, I can take on that question. But Chris, for XED purposes, if you're talking about for funding calculations, then yes, that question would best be supported by the expanded learning office, and you do best putting in an email. And I know that Gary and Matt did so kindly in highlighting that email address for you for ELOP, which is very different from ELP because ELP is encompassing 3 different programs.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
My pleasure.
And that, once again, brings us to the end of the questions. Didn't quite buy us enough time to get Paula in the room.
No, 5 more minutes.
Actually, Paula's here. Let me give her her rights right quick.
Excellent.
Paula
Give me a
is
second,
here.
Paula.
So if you
Yeah.
do have your Sunbucks questions, anything left over from the canceled webinar today, but specifically questions that relate to how Sunbucks interacts with CalPads reporting, now would be a great time to get those questions in that Q&A box. We have our expert on the call.
And Paula, you have your rights.
All right, we did get a question. It is not a Sunbucks question, Paula, but it's probably one that you'll have a good answer for. So we have a question from Anna at 326. I'm following up on the ELOP question. Since we are an independent study school and do not offer an after-school or summer school program, are we still required to participate in ELOP, or can it be optional for us?
I think it depends on if you have any of those programs. If you participate in any of the expanded learning programs, then you're supposed to submit data. So if you don't have an ACES or 21st Century grant, or if you don't receive ELOP funding, and it's only kids in schools offering K through 8 who receive ELOP funding, then you wouldn't have to.
All right, and Anna clarifies that no, we don't have those programs, and she says thank you. All right, next we have a Q1 from Natasha at 327. I was told that we would enter data for our DC extended students into EDCS. Can you tell us which data elements we will need? I.e., will we need SSID of the student's eligibility, or SSID of student eligibility was extended from, program type, free versus reduced, and in parentheses, this is for Sunbucks.
Right. So we will be updating the Flash 197 that went out because we identified a few more things we need to collect. Basically, it's students who have a universal benefits application that's been approved or an NSLP application that is approved. It doesn't matter for the NSLP application whether it's for reduced or free. Then we also learned that some LEAs who extend their benefits from one student who was directly certified either through CALPADS or a local direct certification, that the LEA can actually extend those benefits to other students or children in the household. So in those cases, they would send up to EDCS the date that the benefits were extended. And then the fourth thing would be if a student is directly certified through a local process. Some LEAs continue to do a local direct cert match process with their county welfare department because they find they get a few more students that way. So if a student is directly certified through a local process, not through CALPADS, you can send that student up through EDCS. And for each of those four things, UBA, NSLP, extended benefits, or local direct cert, you will just be submitting the date that either the application was submitted or the date that the extended benefits were extended or the date that the local direct cert occurred. So we will be sending an update to that Flash to specify all of those things. And in the Flash, it does say the other things that need to be submitted, which is basically the SSID of the student, the CDS code, and the local student ID. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Natasha, for the question. Next, we have a Q1 from Leah at 328. Sorry, we missed out on the Sunbucks meeting. I'm sorry to inform you, Leah, but it was unfortunately canceled, or it was rescheduled due to a Zoom outage. So we are looking forward to a rescheduled Sunbucks meeting. I would love to hear anything Paula would like to share that wasn't shared in the regional meetings. Also, with SB 411 going on the floor on the 21st, will the CDE be having a Zoom session afterwards?
I think the main thing about Sunbucks I would share is what I just shared about the additional things we're collecting on EDCS. There's another change that we'll be putting out, but it won't really impact what you all do. But basically, we learned that we can also include in eligibility those students who are categorically eligible for FRPM who are in schools that aren't necessarily participating in a federal meals program. So for the most part, though, that doesn't impact what LEAs have to do because we already have that data in CalPads. We'll just be pulling more kids from the data in CalPads to send over to CDSS, basically the categorically eligible students. I don't know if I will ask our nutrition services division, but they're the ones that would be having some sort of Zoom session after SB 411. Honestly, I don't know exactly where, exactly how that bill is going. So I don't have anything to share there, but should things start firming up more, for sure we would be communicating out about it.
All right. Thank you, Paula. And thank you, Leah, for the question. I apologize that these are all directed your way, Paula.
That's okay.
But we have a Q1 from Heather at 328 regarding Sunbucks. What new responsibilities will be added to CalPads administrators?
Well, I think it's a local decision as to who in the LEA will be kind of leading the effort on the new universal benefits application and getting that all out. In some way, for example, the alternative income form, when that thing came about, LEAs weren't able to use cafeteria funds to support that work effort. And I don't think actually there was any funding given for alt income forms. So I know LEAs did different, funded that effort in different ways or had different staff do that. I think you might know this because I believe they've communicated to the nutrition services folks that we are seeking funding to support the UBA efforts. But that should be coming out in the May revise of the budget. So we're not quite ready to communicate about that, but we have been pursuing funding to support LEAs in the UBA efforts, which will include not only collecting them, but also there are some verification requirements. And it's really up to the LEA as to who you want to put that workload on. With regards to CALPADS administrators, it's up to the LEA if you want the CALPADS administrator to be responsible for submitting the data to EDCS. We will eventually be folding that data into CALPADS. And we have been talking to the student information system vendors, so they're probably, it's probably going to be something that a file that'll come out of your student information system and be uploaded to EDCS. So whoever is in the best position to do that, but it's a local decision.
All right. Next, we've got a Q1 from Yadira at 329. Paula, for Sunbucks, we are a SEP school, and 25-26 is our base year. Will we need to use the alternative income form and the UBA, or can we use the UBA as our alternate form? We currently use Rocket Scan for our alternate form.
You can use the UBA for your base year. You can use both if you want. I mean, if you want to continue just to use the alt income form for the purposes of your UPC count, you can do that. But you will need the UBA for those students who otherwise will not be identified as eligible for Sunbucks because they're not directly certified or categorically eligible. So it's really your choice on that.
All right, and then we have a Q1 from Jan at 331. I believe you already addressed a lot of aspects of this question, but we'll...
Yeah. More information. I think, we have to wait kind of until things are a little bit more official. So folks will need to wait on the definitive answer to that, but we have, just to let you know, we have been pursuing that because we realize that's unfunded workload, right? And so it's looking positive, but until the May revise comes out and all the actions on the state budget are done, we can't say for sure.
All right. And then Doug at 332 asked to clarify the EDCS acronym. Greg's got it highlighted, or sorry, Gary's got it highlighted on screen with the Educational Data Collection System, in parentheses EDCS. Chris at 335 has also provided the acronym and the flash that Gary's showing on screen there. So for more information on the Education Data Collection System, please do see Flash 297. All right, next up, we have a Q2. We have made it to the Q2s now. Not sure if this is the right place to ask this question. We are a CEP or Provision 2 district. Our last base year was 21-22, which would make next year a base year for us. Are we allowed to not declare a new base year and instead continue with the 21-22 as the CEP base year?
In some ways, the whole base year concept goes out the window because you have to collect the applications for all students every year. So assuming that you want to enable your students to be found eligible for Sunbucks if you don't do that, clearly you can continue with the base year idea, but that means students who aren't directly certified or categorically eligible won't be eligible for Sunbucks unless they submit the universal UBA. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. I suppose you can continue getting I believe you will have to if you're going to just do CEP and establish a base year. Well, actually, CEP don't establish a base year. There's not a base year concept in CEP, but for provision school there is, and for LCFF there is. So if you're a provision 2 school and your base year is up, you still need to collect in that base year the NSLP application. And then in subsequent years, the CEP, the Universal Meals application or benefits application. So sorry, I kind of got all confused on that one. Bottom line is CEP doesn't ever have a base year. Provision 2 schools do have a base year during which they collect the NSLP application, and all of that still stands. You would have to, if you're in provision 2, collect an NSLP application in the base year, and then in subsequent years you would have to collect the UBA, assuming that you do want to enable your students to get Sunbucks benefits.
All right. Thank you, Paula. Next, we do have Q1s now. So Leah, Natasha, I'll come back up to your Q2s in just a moment here. But we have a Q1 from Yolanda, 336. Just wondering, how can we wait when our graduating seniors will not have benefits for the summer?
How can we wait? You mean wait for funding? I'm not sure waiting for what exactly. Basically, if you kind of bet on the fact that eventually funding will be provided, you would just, start collecting the UBA for your students who are not directly certified or categorically eligible. And I think in the flash, we kind of suggest that you might want to focus on the graduating seniors for the very reason that you say you kind of want to get that application from them before school ends, which will enable them to get benefits for this summer.
And she did clarify, wait on information about Sunbucks.
Okay, well, you can go with the information you have. If you're waiting to know for sure about funding, you might not. You might want to hedge your bets, I guess. But the information for Sunbucks is out on 297. That's all for sure. It's really happening. We got our approval for this whole plan from the federal government, so 297 stands. There's just going to be maybe a few tweaks here and there, but for the most part, it's not going to impact what you're doing in terms of getting a UBA and so forth.
All right. Thank you, Paula. Next, we have a Q1 from Rocio at 337. SEP and Provision 2 districts, our base year is 22 to 23. Do we need to collect the UBA form from those students that qualified through the alternative income form during the base year? Or are those students already qualified for Sunbucks?
No, you're going to have to collect a UBA for all students in 24-25. Doesn't matter whether or not there was a base year and you rolled over the 181 record. We're not using the 181 record to identify students for Sunbucks. We're using EDCS for 24-25. So any student who's not directly certified or categorically eligible in 24-25 will need a universal benefits application in order to receive 2025 Sunbucks benefits. So it doesn't leave a whole lot of months left in the school year to get families to basically turn in those forms and for districts to evaluate them and to see if they meet the income requirements.
All right. Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Rocio. Next, we have a Q1 from Ethan. Did I hear correctly that for CEP and provision LEAs, if they want students to participate in Sunbucks, then they must rebase every year?
Okay, so CEP there's no such thing as a base year, right? In CEP, all kids were eligible for a free meal in a CEP school, and the CEP school determination was based on a percentage of kids who were directly certified. In CEP schools, they were prohibited from ever submitting an NSLP application. For Sunbucks, it's a completely different program, and under the Sunbucks program, they require an application every year from every student that is not directly certified or categorically eligible. So if you're a school and you're CEP and 80% of your kids were directly certified, then clearly you have a fewer number of kids who might need a UBA. But just remember, CEP is different than a provision. A provision 2 school is different in that you do have to establish a base year by collecting NSLP applications, not the UBA, but an NSLP application. In that base year, under the provision 2 rules, all kids then could all kids based on that NSLP base year, they don't have to submit an application each year in the subsequent years. You can roll that over. But all that kind of goes out the window again with Sunbucks, because it's a different program, and under the rules of Sunbucks, the NSLP application makes a student eligible for Sunbucks. But in provision 2 school, since they only have to collect an NSLP application in the base year, that means in the next year, they're going to have to collect a UBA in order for the student to be eligible for benefits in that year. And so you're going to have to collect that UBA in every subsequent year until you rebase your year, in which case you collect the NSLP application. I know it sounds crazy, but you just have to think of it as separate programs. The only thing that kind of overlaps is the fact that the NSLP application, in the years that you do collect the NSLP application, qualifies a student for Sunbucks.
All right. Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Ethan. We've now arrived back at our Q2, so I'm going to scroll to the top here. Q2 from Leah regarding what Paula just shared. For the schools not participating in the National School Lunch Program or the School Breakfast Program, will we need to target non-direct certified students or directly certified students?
No, because what's different is that basically under the Sunbucks rules, those students who are what we call streamlined certified, those are students who are eligible without any application, and they're eligible based on the fact that they were directly certified or they're categorically eligible. Okay, so you all already sent to us foster migrant homeless data. Everybody does, regardless if they're an NSLP or SPB participating school. So we already have that data in CalPADS. What's going to be different is we're going to provide CDSS the kids who are categorically eligible or directly certified from those non-participating schools. However, that's one group of kids, okay? But the other group of kids that can be eligible for Sunbucks are those who are enrolled in a NSLP or SPB participating school. And if they're enrolled, then they're eligible either because they're directly certified or categorically eligible, or because they submitted an NSLP application, or they submitted a UBA, or they're locally directly certified, or they were extended the benefits from a sibling in the household who was directly certified. Those 4 things that we're collecting in EDCS. So those students still need to be enrolled in a participating school to be eligible.
All right. And then next we have a Q2 from Natasha at 334. Where can we find information about the verification process for UBAs?
So that should be coming from our Nutrition Services Division. I don't know if they have put that out yet, because I think they were waiting for the federal government to approve our Sunbucks plan, which just happened literally like last week. And they were also, I think, waiting to know for sure that the May revise, which is a revision to the proposed budget for 25-26, the state budget, includes funding for Sunbucks. So I don't know if they put anything out, but they will. It's going to be similar, but not exactly the same as the verification rules for NSLP applications. It's similar in the sense that LEAs will be required to verify some percentage of UBAs. But the percentage, unfortunately, is different from the percentage required to verify for NSLP applications.
All right. And then next we have a question from Yadira at 340. Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, I can use the UBA as the alternate form, and that will not only qualify students for Sunbucks, but also provide them their status for those that are not directly certified, correct? And will we need to do UBA forms annually?
Oops, sorry. Yes, you will need to do them annually, and also for those who are not directly certified. Right. So if they're not directly certified or categorically eligible, the UBA is what they need, and they will need to do that annually. I don't know if that answered the question.
Right. Next, we have a comment from Jan, 345. Compounding the confusion around this is under the Universal Meals Program, all students get free meals regardless of their status. So it's extremely difficult to get parents to fill out anything more complicated than the alternative income form.
Right. It's all totally crazy. But the only difference here is that to the extent that, the $120 over the summer will support and help get food on the table for kids, then that would be the incentive. They would need to fill out that UBA, assuming they're not directly certified or categorically eligible, if they want to get those benefits. Which for a family that has more than one kid, that could add up. So it's a communication thing. To make sure parents understand that that's why they need to submit the form. And submitting the alt income form isn't going to get them the benefits. Only submitting the UBA will get them those benefits.
All right. And then we have a Q2 from Yadira at 345. Reminder, what is our date for the UBA collection for the 24 to 25 academic year for those students who are not directly certified?
Okay. Any kid to be eligible for 2025 Sunbucks, the application needs to be submitted by the family by September 1st, 2025. The EDCS will remain open for you guys to submit those records to EDCS all the way till January 1st, 2026. But in order to be eligible, those applications need to have a date that's between July 1, 2024, all the way through September 1st, 2025. So this is April, so May, June, July, August, about 4 months. There's the time frame to be collecting the UBAs and evaluating them. Clearly, for kids who are graduating, it will be hard to collect that application once they graduate and leave school. So, and then, during the summer, it might be hard too. So we understand that this is all like late and so forth, but it is what it is.
All right. Thank you, Paula. Next, we have a Q2 from Rocio. Does the new UBA form require a wet signature from the parents? If not, what is an acceptable submission? Can parents complete the form through our SIS, the parent portal, similar to the enrollment form?
Yeah, so we haven't put out that FAQ, but we did get confirmation from our Nutrition Services Division that an electronic signature would work.
Okay. Thank you, Paula. And next we have a Q1 from Sin, really more of a suggestion here. Just throwing this out there, a flow chart might be helpful for us regarding the UBA, AIF, CEP, and Provision 2 schools. There's been some kind of commentary in there about how complicated that flow chart might become looking.
Yeah,
Alex not
we'll
sending
think
in.
about that.
All right, and then we have a Q1 from David at 351. Can we remove the section about Social Security number from the UBA?
You know, the SSN piece on the UBA is optional, so I would need confirmation from our Nutrition Services Division that it would be okay to actually remove it. You can put in big font that it's optional, but I will take that back because I'm not sure if the requirement to be compliant with the regulations, if it needs to provide, it needs to be an optional field or whether or not. So that's what I will ask.
All right, and then final Q1 from Anne at 354. Based on my past experience, when we get a call from parents asking us why they didn't get their Sunbucks, I wonder how much work it will create for us to try to get them an answer and explain to them what they need to do to claim the Sunbucks since it's so complex. It would help to have a resource for LEAs to help parents.
There are some resources on the CDSS website. I believe our nutrition services folks are also, there's some website resources that they have available. So I'll check in with NSD to see exactly what they have. I know right now they're working on translating the UBA into the main languages that are out there. And that hopefully will be complete pretty soon and available. Yeah. So, I mean, this is something that is important to us too, because when parents aren't sure, what they do is they go to the Sunbucks call center, which is administered by CDSS, and they ask, and then ultimately it tends to escalate to us. And so literally last year we had thousands of escalations we had to track down. But hopefully that this year that basically no benefits will begin being mailed out starting in mid-May. So they might start to hit families in June, and they come out on a rolling basis based on last name. So any student who's in the who's participating in CalFresh, CalWorks, or 185% of or less of, or greater than the federal poverty level in Medi-Cal, those students will be the first to go out, as well as any categorically the categorically eligible students in CALPADS. The students that will need to wait a bit are those who are submitting UBAs, because we won't be pulling that data out of EDCS until July 1st. And, assuming that school districts have been able to actually collect forms and get them into EDCS. Those are the ones who probably will have the most questions. But I think the main message really for those families are, if you're not participating in CalWorks, CalFresh, Medi-Cal, and if you're not, migrant family or homeless or foster, then you need to submit the UBA. And once you do submit that UBA, it'll take a few months for the benefits to come, because we pull the data out of EDCS. July 1st is the first time. Then it's on a monthly basis, the first of each month through January 1st, 2026. And once we get the data, it has to be sent over to the Department of Social Services, who has to process it, get it to the vendor, who produces the cards and then get mailed out. So there's a lot of steps involved, and so it's not immediate. Clearly, the sooner they submit an application, the faster they will get benefits.
All right. And last question here from Jan at 357. So if a parent whose student is not directly certified or categorically eligible fills out the UBA and qualifies, as long as it's submitted through the EDCS, the parent will get their Sunbucks no matter if the school participates in the National School Lunch Program or not.
No, that's only true for the DC and categorically eligible kids. For the kids who are not, what they call, those are kids that they call streamline certified, meaning that they're eligible without having to submit anything. They're eligible based on the fact of some other status that we all know about already. Those who have to submit an application, those students will need to be enrolled in a participating school. I know, I agree. I'm agreeing with Jan's sigh.
All right.
I mean, you couldn't figure out how to make this more complicated than it is. I mean, honestly, but it is what it is. So I didn't know what else to say.
And being what it is, I really appreciate that you're able to provide this guidance on the Q&A, Paula. It is really helpful.
Sure.
All right, that does bring us to the end of our questions, and we are right up against 4 o'clock, so I say we call it here. Thank you for everyone for attending the Wednesday Q&A, and thank you for being here for our new segment, putting Paula through her paces. It's an alliterative segment.
Wow.
But we are very happy that we had Paula able to answer some Sunbucks questions for us. We will be back next Wednesday. Again, the CSIS offices are closed on Friday, so the service desk will not be in operation, but we will be here next Wednesday. We also have live training next Wednesday morning. It's end of year 3 reporting and certification, so be sure to register for the CalPADS live trainings.
Great.